Hi everyone, welcome to Volleyball DNA, where we examine the characteristics that make up some of the most intriguing personalities in the world of volleyball. I'm Anton Rojas.
And I'm Denden Lazaro. The subject for this episode is a true volleyball legend. She won 4 championships in the UAAP and was the MVP in season 71. She is also the first ever volleyball player in league history to have her jersey retired. Now, if you're a real sports fan, then you must know and recognize the things that this remarkable individual has done then and now. I'm talking about the one and only Manilla Santos-Ng. Hi, Ate Ila. So how are you and your family holding up at this time during the pandemic?
Okay naman. We're trying our best not to go out as much as possible kasi nga dangerous pa din. Pero, ang advantage pa rin na to, pagkakataon na to is magkakasama kami. Mas nakikilala ko yung anak ko, mas nababantayan ko sila. Very nice pa rin naman.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that this pandemic has brought. Despite all the uncertainty and negativity, it gave us time to be with our loved ones. So that's always nice to hear. And we're very honored for this opportunity, Ate Ila, to speak with you because obviously you've done so much for the sport of volleyball, and we would like to hear your story as in from the beginning.
The beginning. Okay.
From the beginning.
The very beginning.
I remember the last time I covered volleyball, I made a comment like, because Cici Randina was playing so well, as in sobrang ganda ng laro niya during that year, that last game against Ateneo. And I said something like, in the history of UAAP Volleyball, there are players that when you just mention their first name, as in their first name, you'll know who they are. And Cici added her name to that list. But I mentioned some other names also. I said Manila, Rachel, Eliza, and now Cici. So it starts with you because you're the first player to have had her jersey retired by Salle. But that name, Manila, like it's a very unique name, but it's not named after the nation's capital, right?
No.
What's the origin story of your name, Manilla Santos?
Okay. Since I was the last member of the family, my parents decided na maging different naman yung name ko. Kasi yung brother ko at sister ko, their name is Mary and Joseph. So, sakto, my godfather was there. He was an Italian. And then he said na yung name ng great-grandmother niya is Manila, but originally with a single L. And sabi niya, it was named after a flower daw. Tapos, yung dad ko, sabi niya, gusto niyang gawing double L para lang maging iba. And he find it feminine, so they decided to name me Manila.
That's so cool. You know what? When I hear your name on TV, I mean, that's such a cool name. I want to be named Manila. But when you were younger, were you always called Manila or Ila? What was your nickname at home?
At home, they call me Ila. Tapos, actually, I had a hard time during my younger years eh. Kasi syempre, di ba, pinaglalaroan nila yung pangalan ko. Manila Beer, Manila Zoo, mga ganyan. So, I actually asked my parents one time, no, sabi ko, Ma, pwede bang palitan mo na lang yung pangalan ko? Sabi niya, bakit anak? Ayoko na kasi. Tinutukso nila ako. Sabi niya, anong gusto mong pangalan? Sabi ko, gusto ko Cheryl. Kasi gusto ko si Cheryl Cruz noon. Oh my gosh, kilala niyo pa ba siya? Alam mo ba, minessage ko siya sa Instagram.
Okay.
Tapos sabi ko sa kanya, kasi lately ko lang nahanap yung Instagram niya. Tapos minessage ko siya. Tapos kinuwento ko sa kanya yung pangalan ko. Tapos sabi ko nga gusto ko maging Cheryl din. So tawa naman siya. Nag-message siya sa akin. It was nice.
So are you like into social media? Did you just get into it? Or like back then when it started, you were one of the first few who joined?
Yung unang-una, during my time, alam mo ba, ang uso nun is Friendster and Multiply.
O kasama pa ako doon.
Ako rin naman, kasama pa ako.
Oo. Pero siguro, as nung tumatagal, na dumating na rin yung Instagram, nag-join na rin ako, pero I'm not as active. as right now compared, yeah.
Nako, grabe na ang mga tao ngayon. Halos lahat ng tao may IG, may Twitter. Everybody can post anything and say anything that they want to say. But Ate Ila, going back, how'd you get into volleyball? Was volleyball your first sport? Or like who influenced you to get into sports and be active?
Okay, it was my ate. Kasi usually when I was in grade 4, she was in her second year high school. I think that's equivalent to grade 8 right now. We used to walk home together after school. But then, when she started joining the volleyball team, I was just waiting for her. So after a few practices, sabi niya pala sa akin, why not join me? Kasi naghihintay ka lang naman. Sabi ko, sige, I kinda like it. Medyo nagustuhan ko yung drills nila, tumatakbo sila. I find it fun. So, hindi na ako nagdalawang isip. At first, syempre, shy ako. Pero nung tumagal, sumali na rin ako. And it was my first sport and I fell in love with it. Yeah.
Ito yung Hope Christian High School.
Correct. Sa Hope Christian High School.
And Coach Jerry was still the coach?
Yes!
Coach, wow.
Alam niyo ba, nag-start ang volleyball noon. Nagpa-open tryout si Jerry. Kasi we call him Jerry lang before. Tapos, ang dumating lang, my sister and her friend. Dalawa lang sila. Tapos, tinuloy nila yon and Jerry was really, diligent in training players. It was really nice kasi nung look, tingnan mo naman kung ano nangyari ngayon. Di ba?
Yeah.
Ang ganda na ng program nila and yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, Coach Jerry has produced like a myriad of great players. Jem Ferrer, two sisters, you, Melissa Gohing.
Si Mel, yeah.
Yep, a lot of great players from the Hope.
Bernice Ko from UST also.
Oh yeah, I remember her. A lot of great players from Coach Jerry, Tagal na pala ni Coach Jerry doon. Sorry.
Oo, matagal.
Hindi pala siya katagal. And I heard intense ang training nila. Atch, would you say na doon mo nakuha yung basics mo? Kasi you're one of the players na, for me, like, full package ka. You have great blocking. Basics mo is on point. Spiking, digging, receiving, serving. Ang ganda nung form mo eh. Doon mo ba natutunan kay Coach Jerry yun?
Thank you for that kind words, ha? Pero alam mo, totoo lang, Jerry did a good job talaga. Pagdating sa basics, strict talaga siya. Hindi siya nagja-jump kagad sa spiking or sa blocking. Actually, nung time namin, blocking hindi masyadong nabigyan ng emphasis eh. Kasi yung time namin, hindi pa rin naman ganon kadaming malalakas na players. So, ang tinuturo talaga ni Jerry nun, basic digging, defense. Kung may spiking man, meron din, naalala ko nga, meron siyang pinapaabot sa amin. Meron siyang sinasabit sa ilalim ng basketball court. Meron siyang sinasabit na parang basahan lang yata yun. And we have to reach for it. We have to jump and reach for it. Tapos, may mga garter pa siya for playo. For you able to experience that, pabalik-balik kayo sa garter. So, doon, feeling ko lumakas din ako kay Jerry talaga. Sa training program niya. Yeah.
Ate Ila, during that time, would you say na medyo kilala na yung Hope Christian High School in terms of the high school level of volleyball? Like, was Hope one of the more stronger schools or hindi pa?
No, definitely not. Alam mo, nag-start ako ng grade 4 sa Hope Christian High School. Palagi kaming kulelat. To the point na nung nag-grade 4, grade 5, grade 6 ako, tinatak ko talaga sa utak ko na ayokong gumraduate ng hindi kami nananalo. At isa lang yung malakas nun, Ika talaga. Tapos nung third year high school ako, naalala ko, umiyak talaga ako nun kasi feeling ko dapat sa amin na yun eh. So yung first ever championship ng Hope, bago ko gumraduate, that was in 2001. Yeah.
Against Ika yon.
Against Ika!
So, Atch, coming out of high school, you were already very competitive, no? So, may mga nakakita ba nung skills mo, competitiveness mo when you were in high school, ng mga college coaches? Were they recruiting you?
Actually, hindi ako aware na merong nanonood sa akin. Hindi ko alam. Pero naalala ko, somebody asked Coach Jerry to invite me in one of their trainings. Yun yung sa Salle.
Lasal na agad,
nila, well, before nun kasi, ang CSB, yung coach, kumausap sa akin diretso. Pero hindi ko masyadong binigyan ng attention is because it was too early for me to decide. Parang maaga yata niya akong natanong eh. So parang nakalimutan ko siya eventually. And then, after noon, I tried out to Letran under Coach Ness.
Yeah.
Tapos, the players were really nice. They were friendly. Malalakas din sila. It so happened, when I found out na may invitation from Salle, syempre hindi na ako nagdalawang isip, no? Pagpunta ko doon, na love at first sight talaga ako doon sa school. Kasi compare doon sa high school gym, talagang na-amaze ako, napawaw ako. Sabi ko, gusto ko maging part ng team na to. So yung confidence level ko medyo parang mataas, no? Pero hindi pa naman talaga ako sure makakapasok ako doon. So, yun, nung pagdating ko doon, nakita ko yung mga players, sila Ate Andre Mulia, sila Des Hernandez, sila Ate M. Penetrante, and na-intimidate ako. You know why? Obviously, they are tall players talaga. 'Di ba? So, hindi ako familiar sa kanila pa. Even the school, yung background nila, I don't know pa. Pero nakita ko I saw some familiar faces na I played against with back in high school. Yun lang. Pero, in my heart, I've decided already na gusto ko talaga sa Salle.
Describe your first encounter with Coach Ramil De Jesus.
First encounter, si Coach kasi hindi siya masyadong, at that time, parang hindi siya masyadong nakikipag-usap sa mga player. Parang may barrier siyang nilalagay para, I don't know, siguro matakot yung mga players or maybe because dun sa mga past experiences niya. I don't know, pero medyo nakakatakot siya nun.
How did you break that barrier? Because eventually you had to get to him for you to earn his trust.
Well, kasi pagdating namin doon, so pinabalik kami. So, training. At the time na may palaro, dapat maglalaro ako. But then he said na, sige, kung gusto niyo maglaro, edi go. Pero, it's your decision, sabi niya. Pero syempre, parang me and some players na invited to go and play in palaro, parang hindi na lang kasi baka mawala yung opportunity. Baka may ibang dumating dito na player, mapalitan tayo. So, we stayed. So, nung kinuwento sa akin ni Coach na, yung mga bata, parang matagal na to after na, parang sinabi niya na, nakita naman niya yung willingness ng mga bata. Like, kami na gusto namin pumasok. So, nakita niyo yung heart, yung desire namin to enter Salle. So, I think yun.
As you mentioned, M. Penetrante, Ate Anne Remulla, those are tall players. And Salle is known for having incredibly tall players year in, year out. How were you able to stand out? Yung mga kasabayan mo ang tatangkad?
Siguro yung mga current players ng Salle noon, mga 7 lang sila. Tapos, nung dumating kami, for like 19 to 20, ang dami namin. Medyo hindi ako masyadong pinapansin talaga ni Coach Ramil. Ang inuuna niya talagang i-train yung mga matatangkad. Kasi ang belief niya talaga, height is might. So, ako noon, wala akong choice. Parang sabi ko, sige, mag-training na lang ng mag-training. Total, meron naman akong scholarship. Parang ganun lang. Nag-stand out. I think ito yung time na nabigyan ako ng break na maglaro nung second year college ako. Kasi sa totoo lang, hindi ako proud dito na meron akong mentality na kung ipasok. Kung hindi, edi okay lang. Meron naman akong scholarship, parang gano'n. Pero yun, tuloy-tuloy lang training ko. Pero nabigyan ako ng break. Sabi ko, ito na yung opportunity. Gawin ko na kung ano makakaya ko. Sabi ko, kung magkamali, edi basta gagawin ko na lang. Parang gano'n. thankfully, nakakontribute naman ako at that time. So, nagkaroon si coach ng tiwala sa akin.
Just for reference, and you can confirm this, you're officially listed at 5'4". Yun. And
5'4 and a half.
5'4 and a half. Sorry.
That
matters.
Malaking bagay yun.
Hindi kasi during our previous episode, pinag-uusapan namin ni Den yung average height ng Ateneo Lady Eagles na nag-champion. The average height ng starters nila is 5'9 and a half. Wow. So yun, just for reference. Now going back, you entered LaSalle and your rookie year was UAAP season 65. That was 2003. Umabot ang LaSalle sa finals. Pero hindi kayo nanalo. Natalo kayo sa FEU.
Naalala ko nga nun yung FEU. Yeah, I heard na they were really the strong team at the time during my first year. No? Tumatak talaga sa isip ko yung dalawang key players nila, si Bunag and Aleta.
Yeah. Okay, so what was the culture like in the team when you entered? Kasi sobrang iba yung LaSalle tradition ngayon because you were able to lay down the foundation for them, that winning tradition. But how was it like when you were starting out? What was the culture like? Was it already, okay, let's win the championship na?
No. Nung pumunta ako ng LaSalle, hindi pa, well, sa pagkakaalam ko, hindi pa kami malakas na team eh. So talagang si Coach Ramil, dahan-dahan talaga niyang winark out yung mga players and the program. And doon mo makikita na si Coach Ramil talaga is very dedicated and committed kapag meron siyang goal.
During that time kasi, kung tutuusin, hindi mo pa pwedeng i-consider na powerhouse ang LaSalle nung pumasok ka. Kasi isang championship pa lang yung naipapanalo ng school. Pero ngayon, syempre, ibang usapan na kasi naging 11 na Pero yun nga, piggybacking off what Den said, na you laid the foundation and yung culture. Kasi ngayon, pag sinabi mong Lady Spikers, alam mo ng sobrang lakas alam mo ng sobrang powerhouse. Back then, siguro during your time, dun nabuo yung sinasabi ni Denden na culture of LaSalle, yung mentality na malakas kayo. Paano nyo unti-unting binuo yung mindset na yon na you guys can compete for the championship every year?
I think yung paulit-ulit ng coaching staff na i-remind kami na lahat ng ginagawa namin is for the team. No? Naalala ko in our batch, it started na nag-decide si Coach Ramil to put everybody sa dorm. Like me, ako kailangan ko umuwi. But then, sabi niya, in order for him to monitor everyone's condition, playing condition, para wala kang excuse na may sakit ka or what. So, yung time na talagang gusto niya kaming maging well-bonded. Hindi lang basta strong team, but well-bonded. Kasi, alam mo, you can easily create a strong team Pag sama-samahin mo yung mga lalakas na players from this school. Pero strong team plus well-bonded team makes a big difference.
So it took a while to get that culture established, no? Parang may trial and error pa. Like trainings, yung sinabi mo nga, idodorm yung mga players. And syempre, ang daming sacrifice that went in dun sa pagkapanalo nyo ng mga championships, no, Ach? So, well, you went on winning 3 straight championships after your first year. So tell us about those years. How did you come up with a winning formula that created the powerhouse known as the Lady Spikers? Kasi we all know yung training that you guys go through, yung pagpapahirap ni Coach Ramil sa training. Iba yung Coach Ramil na nakikita natin sa TV in games, and syempre iba yung Coach Ramil sa training. How is he in practice?
Si Coach Ramil, hindi siya na uubusan ng idea kung paano kami palakasin. No, kung ano yung nakikita niya sa mga player na kulang, talagang magfo-focus siya doon. Hindi siya mag-jump kagad sa ibang gagawin. He really, may pagka-perfectionist siya So, yung mga players medyo, like me, nahihirapan sa kanya, umiiyak din ako sa kanya. Pero, makikita mo at the end of the day, yung result ng team, kung paano kami gumalaw as one sa loob ng court. And pag nagkakaroon kami ng scrimmage, parang, uy, nagagawa pala namin yun. So it's really a collective effort of the coaching staff, the players, and even the people around us, the DLSC community. Pinagtulungan talaga nila kami para magawa namin lahat.
Siyempre, being champions, no, you always have a target on your back. And kayo yung laging sinascout ng mga teams. So, is there something that you change every year? May mga plays ba kayong ni-reinvent? May mga skills ba kayong dinadagdag every year? Para, to retain that championship, you have to be competitive within the team. May mga binabago ba kayo?
Alam mo, sa totoo lang, yung lahat ng decision na yan depends on coach. And Coach Ramil is very consistent on how he managed to parang i-protect yung mga players. Ayaw niya masyadong nawawala sa focus. So, lagi yung sinasabi, hindi to modeling, hindi to para magpaganda or magpa-cute, di ba? Volleyball pang pinasok niya, he always reminds us na ang pinasok na, para hindi lang kami talaga mawala dun sa focus, na maglaro lang talaga kami ng volleyball. I think, yun din yung importante kasi, syempre, bata, di ba? Players, maraming pagka sumisikat, kapag maraming mga extra-curricular na, no? So, yun, lagi yung nire-remind talaga na focus lang.
Ila, how many years were you the team captain of Salle?
I think yung last playing year ko lang.
The last playing year. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked that was because sinabi mo nga, perfectionist si Coach Ramil De Jesus. I'm aware of that, having talked to him so many times. And I remember one conversation I had with him. Nangyari to sa practice nila. I went to Salle to interview Coach Ramil and some of the players. Sinabi niya sa akin, yung pinakamalaking challenge for him as a coach is to mold players to become a leader. Kasi sa UAAP, sinabi mo nga, when you came in, you were about 20 new players trying to make the lineup. Yung pinakamahirap daw na challenge was, for him, is to find leaders among those new batches of players. So eventually, naging leader si Abby. Eventually, naging leader si Kiana D, si Desiree Cheng. I want to ask how it was for you. How did he mold you to become that leader who eventually became the team captain in season 71?
Well, I think siguro isa ko sa mga senior doon. And nakita niya siguro yung effort ko na kahit na vertically challenged ako, I would still try to do what a taller player can do. Siguro, nai-inspire din yung mga bata na, uy, si Ate Ila mas maliit sa akin, pero nagagawa niya yun. Kaya, siguro, coach decided na gawin na rin akong team captain kasi siguro maturity na rin.
So you were the type of leader na you set by example.
Yeah. Totoo yan. Actually, hindi ako masyadong ganun ka-close sa team. Hindi ako masyadong ganun ka-close sa team. Parang after training, I go and have my own life. Umuwi ako ng bahay. Sila minsan nagsasama-sama pa. Actually, meron akong mentality noon na parang ayoko masyadong close din sa kanila. Kasi parang pag sobrang close, baka tawag dito, baka hindi na kami magkaroon ng respect to each one. Parang ganon. Pero I think naman na si Coach Ramil, nakikita rin niya yung different uniqueness ng bawat player niya. Na kung sino yung pwedeng maging leader. Like for example, iba-iba eh. Kahit naman sabihin mong team captain ka, iba-ibang paraan ng team captain kung paano niya i-handle yung team. Like for me, yeah, maybe I lead by example. And then others, for example, si Cha Cruz, no? She is very ate to the team. That's how I know it. Marunong siya eh. Kasi not only isa siya sa tama ba, isa siya sa panganay o matanda sa magkakapatid,
Yes.
she knows how to handle. Ako kasi noon, I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest in the family. So, iba-iba. And sa experience ni Coach, alam naman niya kung sino and paano niya paano siya magde-decide kung sino magiging team captain.
Ila, I want to talk about the three-peats of LaSalle. I'm sure you were watching, even post-UAP career, yung dalawa pang three-peat na sumunod for the ladies spiker. So I'm just gonna run it down. The first three-peat was 2004 to 2006. This was during your time. And then 2011 to 2013, yan, sina Abby, sina Mika Reyes, Michelle Gumabaw. 2016 to 2018, sina Kim Fajardo na, si Kiana D, Don Macandili. Nakita mo ba yung evolution ng lady spikers o kaya volleyball during those three different eras of three-peats for the lady spikers? Ano yung naiisip mo na from your experiencing a three-peat, and then this next batch nag three-peat, and then yun nga yung latest batch nag three-peat ulit? What was going through your mind when you were watching this, and how you would compare it during your time?
Okay. When volleyball became so popular, many young children are aspiring to be one already. When Abby, Mika, and Michelle came, they are very much dominant players and multi-talented individuals, no? And they inspire so much more. Same with Kim Fajardo, Kim D, and Don. They are all great volleyball players. For me, I believe that the evolution of DLSU volleyball lies not only from the great players, but mainly because of the way Coach Ramil adjusts and adapts on the current situation. For example, in my case kasi, Coach has to convert me on how to become an outside hitter. Nung high school kasi ako, I was a center spiker noon. We call it center spiker. Pero again ha, this was in 2002 ha.
Parehas pala kayo ni Den eh.
Same tayo!
Center spiker nung high school.
I know, diba? So he has to convert me, and he has to make time and more drills para I get used to that position. I remember talagang it was Coach Ramil and Coach Oliver was patiently helping me, no, to become an open spiker. Eh lalo na si Coach Ramil. Si Coach Ramil is an open spiker also nung college siya. Kaya talagang medyo strict siya doon sa position na yun. And ang pagiging open spiker, it's so much different pagka middle spiker ka. Alam mo yung babuelo ka ng malayo and getting a momentum. Hindi ako marunong mag-broad jump noon. Kasi pag center spiker ka noon, you just jump vertically and then snap, di ba? Pero kapag open spiker ka, you have to have the momentum, long jump, tapos magsasnap yung buong katawan mo at the same time yung spiking arm mo. Talagang hampas kung hampas. And si Coach Ramil gusto talaga niya yun. Pagdating ni Abby, Mika, and Michelle, etong mga players na to, they are all tall players. So, Coach naman was able to take advantage of that. He focused on the blocking department and they were really, really good. Diba? So, nag-a-adjust siya, nag-a-adapt siya kung anong meron siya. Okay? Now, Kim Fajardo, Kim D, and Don Macandili, aside from their basic volleyball skills, no, they are much more aware of how volleyball works now. Diba? So, tumatagal eh. Ngayon, mas alam na nila. Kaya these players, mas mataas or mas high yung court awareness nila. They think and then they act very fast already. And knowing Coach Ramil, he can now easily work on or become more creative dun sa mga strategies in both offense and defense. Thus, making everybody highly competitive and difficult to stop. Kaya ngayon, iba na yung volleyball. Ang bilis-bilis na. So, makikita mo, dun sa nagtuturo pa siya, dun sa meron na siya, and dun sa meron na siya at the same time, mas marami pa siyang pwedeng magawa. So, nakita mo yung evolution.
Yeah.
This is Den's idea eh. She wanted to ask you about yung dream lineup mo.
Fantasy
diba,
lineup. Okay. Kasi DLSU has produced a number of champions, MVPs, multi-awarded players, national team players. So this must be hard for you kasi we want you to come up with the best DLSU lineup of all time. So,
of all time.
Of all time. So, kahit anong season yan, yung mga naging teammates mo, no, and yung mga current crop of players. So, that's 7 players.
7 players.
7 players. So, let's start with the libero.
Oh, Don Macandili.
Don Macandili.
Don Macandili, and kung dalawa sila, di ba dalawa na libero? So, Shermaine Peñano.
Oh, yes.
I like Shermaine Peñano. Ang tapang nung batang yon, grabe. Tsaka ang galing niya rin magbasa. Siguro, yeah, both of them, I like them.
For the setter position.
For the setter, si Chi and si Kim Fajardo.
Kim. Yeah.
Paano sila matalino, nagbabasa, tsaka inaaral talaga nila yung kalaban. And what I like about Chi, since nakalaro ko siya, is that minsan, kahit walang tinurong ganong play si coach, pinapapasok niya ako, pumasok ka ng ganito. Basta pumasok ka. Yeah.
Kaya pala siya naging coach after.
Si Chi, magaling. Matalino.
Okay, mataas yung IQ, no? Both of them. Both of them. How about for the middle position? 2 middle blockers.
2. Siguro si Majoy Baron and si Mika. Kasi talaga naman, ang taas nilang, ang tatangkad nila, maganda pa. Diba?
Right, and they have international experience. Like,
True.
How many years na silang naglalaro sa national team, diba? How about for the opposite position?
Opposite. Kim D and Michelle Gumabaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Hindi mo mabilis
tangkad ng lineup.
titibag.
Tangkad ng lineup.
Sorry.
Magaling pa. Okay, last. Your 2 wing spikers, your open hitters. You cannot include yourself, pero kasi kung ako, ilalagay kita dun. Pero, syempre, choice mo.
Open spiker, si Ara Galang. And, siguro yung isa wait, give me a second. Kailangan Lasal na, wait lang. Siguro may isang, Des Cheng.
Des Cheng. Okay, pahihirapan pa kita ng contest. Sino gawin mong team captain?
Ang gagawin kong team captain, naku, sino ba yung mga players ko na sinabi? Siguro,
the eldest is Ate Chi.
Yeah.
Ate Chi.
I think si Chi Sae talaga. Kasi alam mo, sa team, kahit na malalakas ang spikers mo, pag ang setter mo, hindi masyadong inaaral yung kalaban at hindi nagpapaikot ng players, wala. Hindi rin nila mamamaximize yung strength ng team eh.
Right. You have to be commanding when you're a setter.
True.
Grabe tong lineup na to.
Diba? Lahat MVP.
I wanna talk about what happened after the three-peat. Kasi yun yung taon na nasuspend yung Lasal, di ba? Season 69. Kung hindi na-suspend yung Lasal, lalaruin mo pa ba yung final year mo? Were you planning on playing your final year during that year na na-suspend yung Lasal?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
Kasi, definitely.
And then after that, bumalik na yung Lasal, season 70. You didn't play that year because you had an injury. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so 2 years na udlot yung final year mo. And then I read that you actually had a job already. As in, mag-work ka na dapat. So, can you tell us what happened there na you had an opportunity to work, but then bumalik ka pa to play out your final year? And that's not easy, na 2 years kang nabakante, tapos babalik ka to season 71. What happened there and you went back for that legendary final year?
Well, there was a time na sabi ko, siguro stop na, ganyan. But I realized na nung parang magde-decide na ako na umalis ng team, parang doon palalong nagkaroon ng mga realization na shucks, hindi ko pala maiwan yung team. I still love the sport. I want to go back. And then, syempre, yung school gave me an opportunity to study in Salle. Tapos, they helped me out dun sa injury ko in my operation. So, sabi ko, hindi naman forever ang volleyball. So, babalik na lang ako, maglalaro ako ulit. So, hindi rin naging ganun kahirap sa akin mag-decide to come back.
So at your last UAAP match was Game 3 against FEU, and you won that game for your final year. And you came up clutch. You were steady as a rock that game. What was going through your mind during those moments, knowing that it was going to be your last game and you wanted to go out with the championship?
Nung time na yon, I just said to myself, this is it. No, I really need to step up for my teammates who have worked so hard during the training and the preparation for the whole year. So, I just stayed focused and parang inisip ko na lang, walang nanonood sa akin talaga. I just stayed focused on the game. Sabi ko, sa atin na talaga to, sa amin na talaga to. So, yun.
Walang nanonood pero punong-puno yung Phil Ivy Center during that time. I was actually watching clips of that match recently. Yung huling 3 puntos ng Lasal, not yung palo ni Vivas na lumabas ha. Yung huling 3 puntos sa'yo eh. Those were 2 spikes and one kill block. And then after Vivas' spike went wide, you hugged Coach Ramil and Coach Noel. Do you still remember that moment na parang nakaganon ka? And then bigla lumapit sila and you guys embraced, and like, what was the feeling like na that was your last UAAP match, and then, Coach Ramil, nakwento mo nga, it was hard to approach him at the start. But at the end, nagyayakapan kayo and celebrating your 4th championship in the UAAP.
Well, inisip ko nga nun walang taong ibang nakatingin. Kaya ako nakaganon lang. Pero hinihintay ko lang talaga na parang yung moment na yon, pinifeel ko talaga siya. Tapos I just want to hug Coach Ramil first kasi last na eh. Parang we were successful and everybody was really happy. Lahat ng paghihirap biglang na-realize namin. Tsaka yung laban talaga namin with FEU noon madikit eh. So yung last point na yon talagang inisip ko na lang na sige, bigay nyo sa akin. Parang ganon. Papatayin ko yan. Parang wala na akong ibang naisip noon kung hindi sa amin na to, sa atin na to. So kung magkamali, pero kung paluin na talaga. I was really happy. Yung teammates ko lahat, nagtulong-tulungan kami. Kahit na ninenervyos na kami at the same time, no? And then after that, we were just very, very happy.
What a feeling, no?
Yeah.
So, after a couple of days, your jersey was retired by DLSU, and you're the first ever volleyball player to have her jersey retired in the UAAP. So how did you find out that your jersey was gonna be retired?
After every UAAP season, di ba, merong athletes parade to give appreciation to all the athletes. So, wala akong idea talaga. And nung papunta na kami doon sa where everybody will be together na, and brother was already about to speak, na-mention nga na i-retire daw yung jersey. I don't even know what that means. Sabi ko, bakit? Ano yun? Parang, well, I'm very grateful na I was given that prestigious award, no? And nung time na yon talaga, inisip ko, why? Parang, talaga ba? Seryoso ba to? Is this a joke? Pero wala, I was really in awe. I was speechless and hindi ko talaga, wala nagsabi sa akin. Wala, nagulat talaga ako.
What's the story behind the number 14?
Okay. Kasi back in high school, my real number is 13 talaga.
Oh,
it was my favorite number.
Yes! Some similarities. Wait lang.
Okay.
Mainly because a lot of people think na ang 13 daw is malas. And sabi ko, hindi to yan. Parang ganon. Kaso nga lang, pagdating ko ng Lasal, si Coach Ramil ayaw ng number. And I want to stay close with that number, but then yung number 12 was already taken by a senior. So sabi ko, sige, 14 na lang.
When I watch the final clips, yung game number 3, those last 3 points that you scored, iniisip ko, who does Ila Santos play like? Like in today's game? Kasi yours has power, yung approach mo, alam mo talagang babaunin mo yung bola when you get up in the air. But for you personally, like when you watch today's crop of student athletes, who reminds you of yourself now? Dati, kaya ko yan.
Dati, no? Pero alam mo, to answer that, parang inisip-isip ko yan eh. Wala talaga akong maisip kasi baka ma-offend sila at kinumpare ko sila sa sarili ko. Kasi ang lalakas na ng mga players ngayon. But if you're going to ask me kung sino yung mga ina-admire ko, no? Yeah. Aside from the Salle players, I think it's Cici Rondina. Yung physique niya and yung capabilities niya, pag tinignan mo siya parang, di ba, nakakamangha. Iba talaga. Magaling siya talaga. Actually, lately, naging kami. Nagte-text kami and sabi ko sa kanya, magpapakondisyon ako ha, tapos mag-spike receive tayo. Mga 5 minutes lang.
Wow!
Sabi niya, sige ate, so na-excite naman ako.
Pwede ba i-live stream niyo yun?
Ganun ba? Hindi ko alam kung kailan yung pagkakataon na yun, pero sabi ko sa kanya, hihintayin ko yun.
Nice.
Gusto ko manood nun, Ach. Hihintayin namin yun. So, okay, what happened in your life after the UAAP? It was more than a 10-year gap between your last UAAP game and your official volleyball comeback. Mm-hmm. So what happened in between?
Well, after graduating in Lasal, wala naman semi-pro nun eh. Mm-hmm. Meron lang nun is mga alumni league. You know, you can play leisure league. Mm-hmm. But anyway, after that, I stopped na kasi wala ako sa kondisyon nun and medyo sumasakit na yung likod ko. So sabi ko, stop na and bata pa yung anak ko. And gusto ko pa rin magkaroon ng isa pang anak. So sabi ko, focus muna talaga ako sa family.
But you also studied to be a makeup artist, right?
Oh, yeah. Hilig ko talaga yon kasi nung college kami, wala akong chance. Again, si Coach Ramil very conservative yan. Ayaw niya kami ng naka-makeup. Ayaw niya kami ng may naka-cutics. Ayaw niya talaga. Ayaw niya kami lapitan na boys. Okay? Ayaw talaga. Ang buhok namin, pinapakat niya pag mahaba. Diba?
Signature rin yun. Signature Lasal haircut.
Yeah. And I remember nga na meron akong box ng cutics. Tapos everybody else were asking for it and hinihiram nila. Tapos naglalagay sila. And everybody during training nagkaroon ng neon pink, neon red, neon, lahat neon colors habang naglalaro Nagalit si Coach. Pumunta siya sa dorm. Ito yung lahat niya kami, di ba? Pinadala niya kami sa loob ng dorm. Nakita niya sa kwarto namin, may isang box. Sabi niya, kanino to? Ayun, patay na talaga ako. Sa akin yun. Mahilig na talaga ako sa mga kikay-kikay. Kaya nung after ko ng college, tinuloy ko, nag-aral ako. Kasi yun talaga yung gusto ko. Kaya yun.
Passion mo rin.
Mm-mm.
Also, Ach, napansin ko, yung Lasal, every time na magpa-finals, may gimmick sila with the hair.
Yeah.
Remember your time, it was like a green streak dito.
Yes, amin nagsimula yun kasi parang gusto ni Coach ipakita how united we are. Na lahat gagawin namin for the team. Lagi niya talagang nire-remind yun. Alam mo si Coach Ramil parang tatay. Sabi nga niya na yung dedication ni Coach, na yung dedication and commitment niya sa team, kakaiba to the point na minsan na-mention niya na, alam mo ba, mas kilala ko pa kayo kaysa sa mga anak ko. 'Di ba? Kasi nga, sobra kaming magkakasama talaga. Iba yung bond na nabuo sa amin
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Buti naman pumayag si Coach Ramil sa kulay sa buhok.
Ay, actually, idea niya yun. Sabi niya,
wow!
ano bang pwede?
Idea pala niya.
Alam mo si Coach Ramil, he is very artistic ha. Siya ang nagde-design ng jersey ng Lasal.
Wow.
Yeah. Very creative creative si Coach
something
Ramil.
new, ha?
Mahilig siyang mag-create ng idea. Sa totoo lang. Malikot siya mag-isip.
Last year, sometime around July, lumabas na yung mga rumors eh. There were rumors already na, si Manilla Santos nagte-training. You know, we were started hearing these things. And then, around August, ayun na. Hina-hype up na nila na Manilla Santos will join the new team, the Chocomucho Flying Titans. During that time, na-feel mo na ba yung, okay, social media presence, and they're talking about you, and syempre, the real volleyball fans talaga who've been watching since way back know you, so they're hyping you up. Ano yung feeling na, yun, you're planning to make a comeback, tas may mentality ka pa na walang nanonood sa'yo, you just play your game, and then all of a sudden, pinag-uusapan ka na lahat.
Okay. Ito yung time na when I decided to join kasi, it was my son yung medyo nag-help sa decision ko to come back. He said kasi na he wanted to see me play again. So sabi ko noon, sige, medyo malalaki naman din sila. Maybe, sige, try ko nga. Kasi sa totoo lang, after I stopped playing volleyball, hindi ko naman talaga kinlose yung doors ko sa sport eh. I love the sport, and I think I will not stop loving it, and I think I will not stop playing leisurely. Okay? Kasi passion na yun eh. I think all the volleyball players, no, alam to. Kahit na matanda na tayo, siguro, kahit na uugod-ugod na tayo, maglalaro ka pa rin, di ba?
Yes.
Di ba? Yeah, I felt the presence of social media. And sabi ko noon, I felt that the world is closing in. Parang sabi ko, oh my gosh, practice pa lang ako. I wasn't really sure actually if I'm still going to join or not. Kasi, you know, after ko manganak ng 2016, 2017, ito yung mga time na sabi ko, sige, baka pwede mag-try ako. I started with Pilates, and then strengthening, conditioning sa gym. And then after that, sabi ko, well, kailangan ko ng court familiarization, di ba? So na yun, yung nakipag-training ako sa isang team. Medyo na-feel ko talaga. Tapos sabi ko, maybe hindi na ako tutuloy. Pero I realized na, alam mo, minsan ka lang naman mabubuhay eh. Bakit magpapa-affect ka dun sa mga sinasabi ng tao? And this is reality now na it's really beyond your control na. Okay?
I want to ask this because nagulat ako sa description mo na you felt like the world was caving in because of social media. And then I think a lot of athletes nowadays, they feel that pag nag-trending sila. Di ba?
Yeah.
Like they feel the heat. So I wanted to ask, siguro during your time, ano sa tingin mo, kasi sobrang laki ng epekto ng social media nowadays sa mga atleta. What if social media was around during the time that you were playing? How do you think it would have affected you guys kung may social media na during that time?
Well, alam mo, sa tingin ko, at that time and at my age at that time, siguro talagang maapektuhan din ako eh sa social media. But then, siguro, mas meron, ang social media kasi, it can make or break you eh, di ba? Yung time namin, maybe it can also open more opportunities, no, yung time namin. So it's, yeah.
Okay, speaking of opportunities, what if nagka-semi-pro league nung time mo after you graduated? Would you have played semi-pro?
I would think so. Yeah.
Tinuloy mo?
Definitely.
Oh,
Okay.
I wish we had that before para nagtuloy-tuloy ka.
Yeah. Alam mo, nung second year high school ako, sabi ko noon to somebody na sana magkaroon ng parang basketball PBA kasi di ba masikat yun before eh. Ang basketball na talaga. Ang sabi nila sa akin, imposible. Imposible. Kaya natuwa talaga ako nung nalaman ko na magkakaroon ng semi-pro league. I'm happy for the young athletes. Yeah.
Who would have thought? Like, I never dreamed of playing professional volleyball because there wasn't any professional volleyball nung time when we were younger. So, fast forward tayo, Atch. Si Anton magaling tong mag-research. On August 31, 2019, was the Creamline versus Chocomucho game. And syempre, people were hyping up Manilla Santos versus Eliza Valdez. What were your thoughts on this?
Pinag-away pa kami ng Eliza, no? Again, that was something beyond my control. No, the media was doing their job pretty well and not pretty for me. Okay. But prior the opening of the league, I have anticipated it already. So it was easier for me to move on. Ang concern ko lang talaga is for the whole team. Kasi parang nawala yung sense ng team eh. 'Di ba? It became one person versus another.
Right.
Yeah.
So Coach Oliver, who was with you when you were in Salle, becomes your coach again sa Chocomucho. And he's playing you in every match. But then bigla kang stinart in that Chocomucho and Creamline game. Siyempre, ang daming tao. So, like, ano yung feeling na, yun nga, they were building you up. Manila versus Eliza. And then, boom, you're starting in that match. And everybody was going crazy when they mentioned your name in the starting lineups.
Di pagbigyan. Parang gano'n na lang. Di ba yun ang gusto nila eh. Hindi ko na alam ang sasagot ko sa totoo lang.
Pero sinabi mo ni Coach Oliver sa'yo, isa start kita ha. How was...
Sa game na yon.
Ha?
Sinabi ko sa akin yun only on that game.
What?
Sinabi niya. Pero kasi, parang may feeling na ako kasi kumalat sa social media yan. My goodness.
Si Coach O talaga.
Oo nga eh.
Okay, you were able to get through one whole conference in the PVL, and that was the goal, for you to come back to the game you love, volleyball. Pero syempre hindi madali yun kasi nga more than a decade yung gap eh. How fulfilling was it for you na nakatapos ka ng isang buong conference?
Alam mo, sa totoo lang, I think people will not understand it the way they see, no? Pero personally kasi, yung sa pinagdaanan ko na almost 1.5 years na preparation, I know to myself na may improvement. Okay? Nag-start after I gave birth in December 2016, I was 168 pounds. Tapos I have to slowly start, no, para in preparation para makapaglaro. But how fulfilling. Okay, for me, I'm happy, no? I'm happy for myself, but that's very selfish of me. I would hope na sana I was able to contribute more, no, to the team.
Speaking of contributing to the team, Ach, you are, I think you're the eldest in the team. So, kami, teammates mo, we look up to you for leadership. And siguro it's been a decade since your last role as the leader of the team. Mag-iiba ba or nag-iba ba yung leadership style mo with this new younger team?
Alam mo, ako hindi rin ako parang masalita na leader eh. Again, I lead by example. Especially now, yung mga young players, they are very much popular, very strong and talented. It's something na hindi mo pwedeng baliwalain, no? And I have to parang take care of that image na they look up to me. So what I do now is I just focus on how I improve and develop myself. Para eventually they will see na, ay, si Ate Ila pala, kahit na sinasabi nila na na-retire na yung jersey, still have to go through these things, no, sacrifices, one step at a time. Hindi naman pwedeng lumabas lang ako ng parang superhero na okay na kagad eh, di ba? So, in time, yeah.
I just want to share, no? Because like I've been a long time fan of Ate Ila nung Salle days.
Thank you.
And we all know how great she is on the court, pero mas namangha ako sa kanya when I became teammates with her. And I saw her dedication, yung discipline niya, yung hard work sa lahat ng bagay. Lalo na yung sa mga maliliit na bagay, yung most of the time, people binabaliwala nila yung mga warm-up, activation. Yun, binibigyan niya talaga ng time and effort niya to do. So, Ate Ila, I love you so much. Miss na kita.
Oh, thank you. Sana nga talaga makapag-practice tayo ulit.
So, ayun lang, she does those things with integrity. So, we have so much to learn from someone like Ate Ila.
Okay, since you've expressed your love for each other and admiration and excitement to be back on the court together, I want to ask you guys naman. Kasi syempre, ngayon pa lang, mga volleyball fans, hina-hype up na. Nako, nagpalakas yung Choco Mucho. Dinagdag nila si Denden Lazaro. Kinuha nila si Caitlin Viray, si Dina Wong. So, like, what are your thoughts on that? Na ngayon naman hina-hype up na magkakaroon ng bagong rivalry, Creamline versus Choco Mucho.
So I would think naman Choco Mucho, knowing Coach Oliver and some of the players na nakasama ko, they are very dedicated naman, no? And if ever that the team Choco Mucho will be given the chance to practice more time to bond, they will come out stronger. No? At itong mga players na to, palaban yung mga kasama ko eh. They're very competitive too. It's just that the other team has been together for a long time already. And di ba sinabi ko nga kanina, it's very easy to form a team eh, a strong team. Pero strong team plus they're well bonded, it really makes a big difference.
As a player who has now experienced volleyball in the Philippines in 2 different decades, what's your advice to the younger generation of athletes?
Okay. Yung actually, there are young athletes, no, na naka-message ko sa Instagram, and they would send me messages and they would open up to me. Okay? It's either they aren't happy with the way they played or bad game, or they're asking me how to be better on this department. But you know, the worst that got into them talaga is yung social media. No, yung voice na at the back of social media. They felt like it's the end of the world already. But I always remind them that the first thing that they must do is to accept reality, na meron talagang tao na they will really put you down, no? Kahit kasi naman they have to realize na kahit naman walang social media before, meron ng ganyan eh. It's just that ngayon, because of social media, minsan na blow out of proportion, di ba? Tapos wala na silang magawa. So I start telling them na you shouldn't react, no? But instead, you have to learn how to respond properly to it. Kung totoo, then you have to learn from it. Then don't do it again. No, if it's not true, then you have to pray for these people. No? Hindi nila alam yung ginagawa nila. And lastly, ang gusto ko talagang sabihin is that no matter how great and popular you are, you have to spend more time reading the Bible, no, than social media. Sorry, medyo yata ako. Ano tawag doon? Yung aging ba to? But anyway, so yun, because I really believe that if you have an intimate relationship with the Lord, no, and when all else fails, which is bound to happen naman at any point in our lives, no, you will have a good foundation. And at that moment, you know what to do, and He will not fail you.
Especially nowadays, during these times, you have to have that sense of hope. And sinabi nga ni Michael Jordan during that Last Dance documentary after winning the championship, sabi niya, I had faith. So it's very important for everyone nowadays to have faith. Ate Ila, thank you so much for all the wisdom you've shared with us. But before we go, we want to ask some quick questions. We just want to get an idea of the lighter side of Manilla Santos. So, syempre nowadays, quarantine, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your favorite activity with your family? Because obviously, you mentioned earlier that this is an important time to bond with family. What's the one thing that you guys do to strengthen that bond that you guys have?
You know, I have more time now with my children. I make sure na hindi rin sila masyadong nag-spend time on gadget. So I was able to make a routine for my eldest son. No, every morning we have a devotion. I make sure that he is already familiar on how to read the Bible, and at the same time, yung mga learnings na meron kasi siyang book na for kids, for boys, na as very short article lang na how to deal with friends, mga ganyan. And then I get to explain to him, make him prepared in real life. And I would think na isa yon sa naging bonding namin ng anak ko. And for my, isa yon, devotion. And then, yung sa maliit ko, maliit pa yon, ano pa lang siya she's 3 years old. So, ako nagpapatulog sa kanya. Pag nap time, yan yung mga ginagawa namin together. And syempre, movies din, kahit na paulit-ulit na.
Yun, movies.
Yeah. Movies, paulit-ulit na. Yung anak ko, gusto niya, Frozen. So, sawang-sawa na kami. Siya, gusto pa rin. So yun, and then, yeah, and we are family who loves to eat. Talaga.
Oh. So actually, you mentioned movie. Is there a favorite movie na that you've been binge watching, or like a series that you've been binge watching over the quarantine period?
Alam mo, kung kailan ako nasa bahay, parang mas busy pa ako, I don't know why. Kaya paggabi, we made sure, me and my husband, we watch together after we put the children to bed. Nanonood kami ng Netflix. So pinanood namin yung Defending Jacob, and yung Money Heist, and yung Snowpiercer, yan, yung mga ganyan.
Food, like you mentioned food, like ano yung paborito nyong kainan with the family?
Everybody loves ice cream, no?
What flavor?
Chocolate, mainly because the children loves chocolate talaga. Yeah.
Really sweet.
Sweets talaga, kaya yun yung kalaban ko talaga ngayon.
Ikaw rin napapakain ka ng sweets?
Napapakain ka kasi hindi naman din, syempre nandun na yung temptation
Yeah, it's hard. So hard.
Ang hirap, diba?
Sobrang hirap.
And the house is just small, so konting lakad lang, pagising mo, kitchen.
Nandiyan na yung ref.
Oo, nandiyan na yung ref, diba? And what happened pa kasi, since ayaw namin lumabas, bumibili na kami, pinupuno na namin yung ref.
Nako.
Okay, so while you're enjoying all the food, I'm sure hindi na nakakalimutan to try to stay in shape. But, before we close, I just want to ask, because, syempre, a lot of people are dreaming of that day that volleyball comes back. And your fans, Ila, are also dreaming of that day that you'll be back on the court. So I just want to hear it from you personally and officially. Will Manilla Santos make her comeback in the PVL in the future?
Dapat talaga, kaso nga lang inabot ako ng pandemic. But
may suspense.
Oo nga grabe talaga ng pandemic na to. But at least there's more time for me to prepare. Kasi 1-2 years of preparation, pag lalaban ako dito sa mga batang to, it's still very short, no? So, let's just see. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just focusing on my improvement and development. A lot of things can happen.
But I will pray for the comeback. I will pray for your comeback with Denden and the much stronger Choco Mucho Flying Titans. Wow.
Definitely.
Bart, this was such a great episode. This was such a great conversation. We had a legend on the show. We had a legend on Volleyball DNA. My goodness.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us, Ate Ila. And it's not every day that you get to, interview a legend.
Yep, Manilla Santos-Ng. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much too.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you for watching Volleyball DNA. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to get notified for future episodes and interview highlights.
And while you're at it, head over to our Facebook page by clicking on the link in the description.